I mean, I don't walk around thinking I'm some angry woman. I really don't. It's just certain things hit me fast. Disrespect, people talking over me, acting slick, acting like I'm stupid. And once I feel that shift in my body, it's like everything gets hot real quick, and I already know I'm gone. Then afterward, everybody acts like I just became a monster out of nowhere.
Well, I understand what you're saying. And you have to, like we talked before last week, I think we went over this same area. You can't put so much concern on what other people are thinking. And also before they even respond to something you may or may not have said. So those thoughts kind of, you give off the energy. Those thoughts could, not you particularly, but anyone could give off that energy that they're anticipating people having a negative feeling to them. And that really causes problems, because if you're anticipating someone's negativity towards you, then you're going to act a certain way. You're going to act a certain way before you even receive their negativity. So you have to try to go into these situations, like we talked before, neutral. Neutral. You don't want to anticipate and cause a problem when there is not a problem already.
It's never just one thing, though. That's what people don't get. It builds. Stuff starts stacking up all day, all week sometimes. Bills, work, somebody texting me crazy, somebody else needing something from me. Then one person says the wrong thing at the wrong time, and suddenly I'm the only problem in the room. Like nobody else contributed to how bad it got.
Well, it's it, I'm really listening to you and I'm hearing you. And you think that a lot of the times when you get upset, it's all pointing towards you. Everyone's blaming you. And you feel, now correct me if I'm wrong, you feel that when people go out of their way to be nasty or go out of their way to cause you to feel upset, then you have to retaliate, or you have to stand up for yourself. And sometimes when you stand up for yourself, it's seemed as being abrasive or not caring about other people's feelings. So I get it. I'm listening. And again, this goes back to what we talked about in earlier sessions, when sometimes you have to let stuff go. You have to I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult. I feel the things you are explaining when people deliver or when people respond to what I'm saying in a negative way. You want to retaliate. It's human nature. It's human nature. But we're here, and you're here because you need to find a way to control those feelings. We can't act on every feeling that we have. It's like a child. When something happens, their toy is snatched, they may want to cry, or they may want to run over and grab it back and push the other child down. You can't react to every perceived insult or slight. So that's what we're working on. That's why we're here. That's why you're here. And I think we can really make some progress because you're open. You're letting me inside to see what drives you, what motivates you, what makes you express yourself in a certain way that may hurt others, especially in a workplace.
I know I make bad decisions when I'm worked up. I know that. But in the moment, it never feels like a decision. Not really. It feels like I'm already cornered and I'm just trying to get the pressure off me. Sometimes I say something reckless. Sometimes I get in somebody's face. Sometimes I throw something or slam something. And later I look at it and think, yeah, that was stupid, but at the time it felt necessary.
And that's the thing. What you just said, it felt necessary. That's what we are here to control. That's what we have to work on, because it's not necessary. As that volcano inside you starts to erupt, because you sound to me like you are a listener. You really listen to what the other people say. A lot of times people that don't listen closely, the negative comments, the slights, it just goes right past them. And they don't have to respond because they don't even hear it. They don't even take it in. But you appear to be a listener. So when those negative comments or those slights, whether they're perceived or imaginary or they are a slight, you want to retaliate. So I understand. And that's what we're here to work on. We're going to give you techniques. We're going to give you skills. We're going to give you the ability to let those slide right off like water off a duck's back. So that's what we're going to work on. It's going to take work because I can hear in your voice. I can see by your expressiveness, and I've been through reading your records of how you respond and how far you feel sometimes it's necessary to let's, for lack of a better word, retaliate when you feel slighted or disrespected.
I drink more when I'm stressed. I'm not going to lie about that. And it's not always drinking. Sometimes it's just anything that shuts my head off for a minute because I get tired of being in there with my own thoughts. When I've had a few drinks or I haven't slept or I'm already wound up, I can feel that I'm thinner, like I've got no skin on me. So, yeah, stuff gets to me faster and then I do something I've got to explain later.
Yes. I'm glad you brought up alcohol. That's something that we're going to have to. That is what I call a rider problem, which you have your underlying issues, alcohol, drugs, whatever the potential vice is. It could be overeating. It could be sexual addiction. It could be a myriad of things. But that I call the rider problem. So we're going to start with the base problem. And then we're going to tackle each and every rider problem that you may have. So this is not a quick fix. That's why the judge asked you to come to therapy. Well, didn't ask you, mandated it because you have issues. And these issues need to be looked at. They need to be dissected. They need to be examined. And you appear to be a great candidate for our teletherapy. You seem to have no problem explaining what your issues are and owning up to them. I get a lot of people in here who don't want to talk. They don't want to face the fact that something that they're doing is causing them the problem. It's giving them the reason that the judge ordered you to come here. So it looks like we have a lot of work to do. And I think we can make progress quickly because you are able to verbalize what your issues are. And when you're able to verbalize your issues, then somebody like me can help you navigate the ups and downs and keep those volcanoes, I like to call them, keep those volcanoes from erupting.
My ex says I make people nervous. He says the whole room changes when I get quiet. I used to think he was being dramatic, but I don't know. Maybe I do have a way of staring people down or making it feel like something bad is about to happen. I don't always mean to do that. Sometimes I just want somebody to hear me and stop dismissing me. But I guess with me, it can turn into pressure real fast, and people feel that.
Well, that's good that you're able to admit you had your ex there and he was able to felt comfortable enough to give you his opinion about how other people were perceiving you. Because a lot of times these issues are because we don't see how we were being perceived. I'm a person who I've had a lifelong obsession with how people perceive each other and the things that they don't say about other people because they're afraid of offending them or hurting them or stepping on toes. But your ex was able to give you some valuable insight so that you were able to look at yourself and say, okay, wait a minute. Is it me? Is it always me? Is there something that I'm doing? Is there something that other people see in me that I don't see? So yes, that's another rider problem. Like I said, those are issues we were able to work on here. That's why you're mandated here. And I think we can make a lot of progress quickly. What I do is I take notes from our sessions, and we work on those issues. We break it down. We make it. We make a spreadsheet if necessary, and we address each issue that's affecting you, and we work on those individually, and that individual work will alleviate a lot of that turmoil. And that's the problem. When there are so many things going on and you can't identify it, because when you investigate yourself, when you look inward and you seriously look inward, if you really want to change, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And it's not something that's going to happen like a light switch. It's not going to happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. A lot of people expect it to happen like that, but that's not how it works. That's just not how it works. It takes work. It takes you thinking about how you're going to respond. And the beauty of it is if you think in advance, you think of some of the triggers. Now, we'll talk about that too. There's another area I like to talk about is triggers. What triggers you? Because once we know what really triggers you, then I can put you in situations where I purposely trigger you. And you can see how you feel in a safe area with me. And we can work on how to de-escalate those feelings before you lash out. So it's a process. It's a process. Again, like I said, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
In my house growing up, nobody talked anything out. That just wasn't a thing. If my father was mad, everybody knew it. If something went wrong, it got loud, doors slammed, stuff got broken, and then the next day, nobody mentioned it. So part of me honestly thought that was normal. I thought that was just what happened when people got pushed too far. I didn't really learn that other people don't live like that until I was older. And by then, I was already doing some of the same things.
Well, that is a typical childhood of someone with anger issues. They've seen it their whole life. They've lived through it. Mom and dad, brothers and sisters, cousins, uncles. They have the problems. And they learned it from their family, from their mother and father potentially, or whoever raised them. And it's a system that needs to be broken. The first step, you're already there, recognizing that this is an issue, facing it. This is a problem. This is something that I want to change. This is something that I want to be different. So you are on the path. I'm glad you brought up your family. That's another section that we're going to cover in future sessions, because learned behavior is the building block of who we are. I myself fight against learned behavior that I learned from my mother and father. I had issues that I had to overcome. And once I realized that, and it still pop up, what we're talking about, everything we're talking about, it's not going to go away. We're going to teach you skills and techniques and methods to handle it, to deal with it. It's not something that, the way you were raised, the lifelong lessons that you learned as you were growing in your formative years, they don't go away. We learn how to live with them. And so that's what we're going to work on. Don't be afraid. That's what we're going to work on. It takes work. Again, we're going to learn to give you the skills and techniques necessary to make yourself the person you want to be, and to make yourself the person that the court wants you to be as far as societal issues go.
The part that bothers me the most is my kids have seen me angry. More than once. I never wanted to be that kind of woman. I always told myself as long as I worked, provided, stayed involved, that meant I was doing better than what I came from. But kids notice more than you think. They notice your face, your tone, the way the house feels when you walk in irritated. And I hate admitting that because I know some of that probably lives in them now.
That is so true. That is so true. Kids see everything. Um, with my daughter, years when she was older and she was able to feel free to speak about her childhood with and her mother, uh, we learned things that we didn't know that she had noticed when we were raising her. We thought we were, do as all parents say, we're doing the best we can, but we made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. And the kids know it. The kids see it. The kids pick up on it. You try to, you're having disagreements between husband and wife. Someone's having a down day. The kids see that. And a lot of times they internalize it. So they take it on. And you're right. It is something that they will carry, just like what you mentioned earlier about your father. You carry those issues that you saw in your father and mother. And those affect how you handle yourself, and has led you to the situation where you are now in court-appointed therapy because of certain issues and outbursts and how you dealt with situations, and overall how you feel, as you said, when that eruption starts building and you can feel it. Someone's slighted you. Someone has disrespected you to some degree, or said a wise remark, or a snide remark, or what do they call an offhanded compliment, a backhanded compliment. So we get those, and we feel we have to respond. But again, you're correct. Children see it. Children internalize it. And you don't want to put your children through that, especially when you know about it, when you know what you're doing. Years ago, we didn't know about this. We didn't know how these effects, what was the saying? Children should be seen and not heard. We didn't know, my favorite saying, we don't know what we don't know. Back then, we didn't know what we didn't know. But now we know it. And you want to shelter your child from your issues so that you don't pass those on. You want to pass on the good traits, not the bad. So don't worry. This is something we can work on. Another rider problem.
I think what messes with me is I know people see me different now. Even when nobody says it, I can feel it. Like they're being careful with me, watching me, waiting to see if I'm going to go off again. And I hate that. I hate feeling like I became that person everybody has to measure themselves around. Sometimes I don't even know if I feel more bad about what I did or more bad about how exposed I feel now.
I do understand. That's something that we can work on. That's something that we will work on. Those issues are there. They're prominent. They're solvable. What you're talking about requires us to examine the underlying issues, and we will do that. And we will get to a place where you're able to have techniques and skills and something to fall back on. And those skills are learned first and practiced, but then they become second nature, just like driving a car. When someone says something that's a perceived insult, divert it. You'll be able to, change the subject without addressing that issue right there. And maybe if it's something that needs to be addressed, you can go back at a later date and address it in a calm, civil, professional manner. Because most of your issues that you're here for are because of your situation at work. But that is just a part of a bigger issue, because you mentioned your kids and your family life. We want to make it a whole, healthy, healing situation that will help you at home, help you at work, and help you for you individually, help you for you.
I know I've done damage. I do know that. I'm not sitting here saying I'm innocent. I said things I can't take back. I scared people. I made stuff worse when I could have walked away. That part is true. I think where I get stuck is once I admit that, it feels like people want me to become only that. Like that's my whole identity now. And then I start defending myself again because I don't know how to hold the truth without feeling buried by it.
The hardest part for me is knowing this wasn't just one bad day.
I want to say that, but I know it's not true. It's happened in different ways for years. Different jobs, different men, different situations. Same feeling underneath it. I get overwhelmed, I get angry, I feel disrespected, and then I do something that makes me feel powerful for about 10 seconds and ashamed for 6 months. So yeah, maybe it is a pattern. I just don't know how to stop being the person who keeps repeating it.
Well, like I said before, you recognize the pattern. You are able to you're at a great stage right now where you recognize there is a pattern. You recognize there is something wrong. You're willing to admit it. You're here willing to do the work to make it better and make you better. So I feel great promise about the work we're going to be doing together. And I think that you will make a remarkable change. I will give you the tools. I will give you the ways to recognize those feelings before you have to show them to other people. So I'm happy to hear that we can move forward with figuring out a way together. It's not a one-way street. It's not just me giving everything to you. It's a give and take because we have to work on this together because we have to come up with solutions that work for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It never is. It never is. Therapy is not a one-size-fits-all solution. You're open. You're willing to admit. That's the very first step. Like I said, that's the very first step. Admitting there is a problem. Admitting that. And that's one of the first big steps that sometimes it takes months, years for people to even realize that there is a problem. But I don't see that here with you. I see that we're going to make good progress. So next week, what I'd like you to do is I want you to start your journal. And this is going to be a big thing for us. I want you to start journaling. And it doesn't have to be anything big, formal thing. It needs to be a little notebook that you can keep maybe in your pocket, in your purse, whatever. And when you feel a slight, when you feel someone has disrespected you, when you feel someone has talked down to you, take a moment and write that down. Don't react. Write down what they said. It doesn't have to be word for word. Write down what they said so that we can discuss it. We can discuss it in our next meeting. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to start creating a journal of offenses that are targeted towards you. And also what that will help with the journal, it will give you something to think about before you just respond. It will give you a moment to think about it. Whenever someone says something that is some degree offensive or some degree where you would normally retaliate, take a beat. Remove yourself from the situation if possible. I know sometimes that's difficult at work. It's difficult at home. But as soon as you can, don't respond. And if you can, that's what we're going to be working on. But don't respond if you can. But if you do respond, I want to know the offense and what your response was. So try to use the journal as you heard that when people say sometimes count to 5 before you respond. Or if you're going to send a important email and it's something critical, do it in the morning. I want you to use your journal as that stopgap where you journal what the offense was. If you do respond, I want to know what that response was. And we're going to work on it. We're going to work on it. I can see we're going to make great progress together. And I'll see you next week. See the receptionist on your way out and find a convenient time for you next week. I'm looking at Thursdays and Fridays for you. So find something that can work and we'll make a schedule and we will see you then. Thank you.